The idea for working with these illusions is to study how the brain interprets the signals that come through the eyes. Your brain tells you that you're seeing a regular man with a torso and a face that comes toward you. The nose sticks out in front of the cheeks and the mouth. That's what our brain says that we see. But this is not exactly what it is. Actually, you're seeing a hollow mask. So we're familiar with faces being always convex. In other words, the nose sticks out. Even though the two eyes tell the brain that this is a hollow mask, our brain refuses to believe that there are out there hollow masks. Our brain thinks that these are two streets that recede into the distance with a central building that comes toward you. But that's not exactly what's happening. Interestingly, people with schizophrenia have a tendency to not see this illusion.
I believe we can be more human if we accept more than one reality. In February 2015, something happened. It had a divisive impact on the world. People said it challenged their objective truth. Time magazine said it changed the course of internet history forever. We have a really hard time accepting that we experience the physical world differently. Many of you remember the image of this dress. A lot of us see it differently. Some people see it as white and gold, some people see it as blue and black. I happen to see it as white and gold. Turns out I'm wrong. The color you can go buy in the store is actually blue and black. But it's not about the actual color of the dress. That's not what matters. What matters is how our brain perceives the color in this image. People have looked at things like demographics, that drive these differences. Doesn't matter if you're a boy or a girl, young or old, or what kind of lighting environments you've spent time in. And at the core of all of these is that how we experience the world. Your brain is constantly integrating information about your life's experiences, in this case about luminance, shadow, and color, to make probabilistic decisions. And it turns out that we all have slightly different information going into that equation. So I can bias you, if I change the context, to see this image differently. Hopefully maybe we see it differently now, but I can also take it away. And hopefully now we all see it the same. These kinds of perceptual malleabilities happen all the time. It's the power of perspective. Something as simple as moving my gaze completely changes how I experience what's in front of me. And perspective is directed in one place or another. I can't choose to see it differently, even though I've had the experience before. I don't get to. I know it's there, but I can't experience the same way. My perspective determines how I experience it. But I do have the power to choose to know that someone else might be experiencing it that way right now. That is the power of knowing both sides.
And I saw signs everywhere. They reminded me to mind the gap. You should mind the gap. Because between perception and between reality, there's a gap. So what happens in the film, it's kind of a sad tale actually, is he has a break and he snaps and he begins railing against the absurd. He begins railing against what he believes to be the reality as it exists. But what he's really railing against is his own perception. And that's the danger of the gap, which is that if you believe that you have access to reality, at some point you then can get a monopoly on truth. Now I said that from these master narratives you spin out your own personal stories, and you do. But when those personal stories you believe to be the only representation of reality, in my own personal story, in my own personal movie, I'm always the hero. And if my perception of reality is different from yours, and I'm the hero, then you've got to be the villain. And if you're the villain, then I fight against you. The difference between perception and between reality. If my perception is different from yours and I'm right, then you're wrong. But in falling down, at the very end of the film, spoiler alert, at the very end of the film, Michael Douglas is standing there, and Robert Duvall, as the copy's been chasing him the whole time, he has a gun pointed at him, and Michael Douglas has this revelation. He says, wait, I'm the bad guy? Yeah. We don't ever kind of come to that realization because we're always the hero, because we think we have a monopoly on truth, because we think that we know what reality is. So how do we mine the gap to avoid that from happening, from kind of hardening into that nodal point where we have reality and we alone have it? Be absurd. Instead of Michael Douglas railing against what he perceives to be absurd, I want you to embrace the absurd. The difference is that there is this glaring point in your mind that is absurd, that is a constant reminder to you that you are only seeing the world through your individual perceptions, because that's all we're ever able to do. And when there's a constant reminder that all I'm doing is perceiving the world my way, not the real way, just my way, then I can have empathy for others. I still don't have access to reality because none of us ever do. But I'm more empathetic. There is a gap between perception and reality. But there's something very, very special in the middle, in that gap.
We assume that everyone is seeing the world exactly as it is. And this has profound implications for how we think about the world around us. Despite differences in our knowledge and our beliefs and our expectations, we feel like we're seeing the same thing as everybody else. I've used visual illusions as a way of illustrating how we don't see the world exactly as it is, but these sorts of illusions are not just limited to our visual system. They're not just limited to our visual system, they also affect the way we think, the way we remember, the way we reason. We think we see more than we do. We think we see all of the detail around us. We don't. But we also think we remember more than we do and that we know more than we do. And these illusions lead to a really substantial problem. They lead us to think that everybody is seeing the same thing that we are, when in reality, two people looking at exactly the same world could be taking in different information at the same time.
We've got this little example of a sort of optical illusion here. So if you photograph it in the right way, as you're about to see, the eye plays extraordinary tricks on you. So there it is Einstein. There he is in profile. Wow. And there's the inverted bit, but hello, your eye tells you that's poking outwards, and yet it isn't. That's the inside bit. And your eye refuses to believe it until you get to that.
That's great.
Oh, you're twisting my melon, man.
Isn't that extraordinary?
Why does it do that?
Well, it does that because your brain is programmed to recognize human faces. And it's one of the first things babies do is look at faces. And you expect to see a face. And even though you know it isn't a real face, your brain fills in the...
I did it again.
It's an astonishing illusion.
Does this, Stephen, does it only work with Einstein? Would it work with another man?
It would work with any human being. It is really creepy. It's amazing, isn't it?
But it's done it. I can't believe it did the same trick twice.
I know, the point is...
So, listen, we're not going to fall for it this time.
And yes...
Okay. No way. Gone 3 times on the run. Outside.
This is going to be inside, Lee.
Inside. It's outside.
How do you do it?
Wow. How do you do it?
It's so clever, isn't it?
He's so clever.
It is literally... We literally filmed this. I mean, you can see... That's all it is.
This is a great trick. I might cut my head in half and scoop out my brain.
I think someone's been...